This is a major breaking news update regarding the USS Fitzgerald. The United States Navy has dropped homicide charges against the commander of the Fitzgerald and has dropped all charges against Mr. Irian Woodley, the gentleman who was in the CIC that night that revealed for us the AIS system that heretofore the Navy had said was not utilized, actually, in fact, was being utilized, and also revealed, based on the description of his events of that night, that the Fitzgerald more than likely was not moving at 20 knots. It was more than likely sitting perfectly still. And if that's the case, then the entire report is a giant fictitious lie attempting to cover up a very, very nasty series of events on 17 June 2017. Now let's read here what just was posted on USNI at about 10:40 Eastern Time. The former commander of the USS Fitzgerald and two junior officers will not face negligent homicide charges for their role in a collision off the coast of Japan that killed 7 sailors. Instead, Ship Commander Bryce Benson and Lieutenant Natalie Combs will face charges that include negligent hazarding a vessel and dereliction of duty, resulting in death at General Courts Martial, according to a Tuesday Navy statement. However, Lieutenant Irian Woodley, who was on duty with Combs, had all criminal charges against him dropped and will instead likely be separated from the Navy following a board of inquiry. They do not want this guy up on the stand, because if he gets on the stand, he has enough information, and he's already alluded to it, that would completely shoot the Navy story out of the water. And let's go to that real quick. Now, this is the report. Real quick here, 8.3, Seamanship and Navigation. You go down here to almost the last point. I think it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, ninth point. Did not utilize the automated identification system. The system provides real-time updates of commercial ship positions through the use of the global positioning system. This is the official report on USNI. Anyone can read this. This is page 21 in the report. Now, in this article, from the 10th May of this year, he describes Mr. Lieutenant Irian Woodley. The events as thus. Shortly after crossing into a busy shipping channel, the merchant ship ACX Crystal popped up on the CIC's commercial ship automatic identification system dangerously close to the Fitzgerald. The container ship was, quote, bearing down on the warship, bow pointed toward the middle of the warship. Woodley ordered the camera used to spot targets for the ship's 5-inch gun toward the bearing of the Crystal. Fire Controlman Second Class Ashton Cato, who manned the camera, saw the flared bow of the ship fill up his monitor just seconds before the fatal crash. In the description of events from the Navy report, that could not possibly have been the case. Because when we look at this, and they use these stupid little crayon drawings to try to mislead you about what happened. We're going to scroll up here to it. At the speeds that were described, the only thing that they would have seen at that time would have been the Crystal in profile. See, what they're showing here is that even, you see, they're showing them being like right on top of each other at a minute. At a minute from collision, with one at 20 miles an hour and the one at 25 miles an hour, which would be 20 knots and 18 knots respectively, they would have been straight line distance from each other almost a mile away. And they're trying to use this to make you believe that they were like literally right on top of each other. Assuming that a normal human being is not going to look at these reports and think the Navy's going to lie. These reports were even wrong the first day they put them out, and the channel has proof of that too, where they had the time marks on these little dots, all completely wrong. See, they're counting on the news cycle to not have anyone pay attention to this. And when you go to the summary of major events here, this is from the most recent, before the announcement of the dropping of charges. They try to do the same thing again here, where they try to show you that these ships were like literally just barely plodding along and moving at, not realizing how far they would have to be from each other. Like I said, at even a minute away from the collision time, they were a long way away. How far can your car go at 25 miles an hour in a minute? Now double that, because that's how far each of them were traveling toward the collision point at allegedly this 90-degree angle, even though the captain of the Crystal said they were traveling in the same direction as the destroyer when they hit. So many holes in this story, also given the fact now that we've proved that the course laid out from Vessel Finder was created with a Class B transponder, which would not have been aboard a vessel like the Crystal, and didn't become anything remotely like a soulless transponder until almost 3 a.m., which was an hour and a half after the alleged time of the event. We have reports of phone calls coming off of the ship when there would have been no Wi-Fi, no ability to have a phone call come out. Allegedly, we had 117 people in this area below deck, but when a giant bulbous bow penetrated it way down near the keel and that massive amount of water came in, only 7 died, and actually only 5 died. At that time, 2 died trying to drive back in to find their lost shipmates. This is huge. The Navy is in full retreat right now. The Navy Command, they are in full retreat. They do not want this making its way back into the news cycle. Because if anybody decides to look into this and look at the basic lies, that the biggest lie is about the AIS. This entire time they said they weren't using the AIS. They weren't even tracking ships in the area with AIS. And then we have somebody who was aboard the vessel in the CIC on duty at the time saying that, oh yeah, this ship did just pop up on AIS. Which would make sense, because what a lot of people don't realize about the difference between Class B transponders and Class A transponders is range. Class B transponders only have about a mile range. And about a minute away, okay, mile maybe 2 for a Class B transponder. That's when it would have showed up. If that ship was really just transponding with a tiny Class B in order to hide its position and its true track. That absolutely would make sense for what Mr. Erie and Woodley said. And the fact that they're not even going to charge the guy with anything now, and they're going to release him, means he won't see 1 minute on that stand. And sorry about that, guys. Here we go. I'm telling you, this is the Navy knows. The Navy knows. That's why a lot of the bigger, higher command guys all got their golden parachutes, because they realized this was going to come out. What happened? And the Navy is praying right now that nobody, no bigger voice than mine, says a word about it, or starts to ask these questions about why, in fact, is there a report, sworn Article 32 testimony from Mr. Erie and Woodley, that they were using the AIS, and that's how they were able to get the camera on allegedly the bow of the Crystal, when clearly in the report on page 21, and we'll cover it one more time. We've done this so many times, and if you want any information about all of the lies and the holes in the story, come to the Florida Maquis and look through videos and find that just about every video over the last year has had something that can point out these giant lies. 8.2, Seamanship and Navigation. Did not utilize the automated identification system. This system provides, and we've covered this. Why would they say this in the report? And then why would we have Lieutenant Erie and Woodley stating that shortly after crossing into the busy shipping channel, the merchant ship ACX Crystal popped up on the CIC's commercial ship AIS? How can one, either he lied here, and if he lied under sworn Article 32 testimony, I guarantee they don't drop all the charges against him and discharge him. So if he's telling the truth, they lied in the report. And if they lied in the report, you're going to have to ask yourself a question, why? What are they hiding? What really happened? We have 7 dead sailors in that event. And they have tried to blame fatigue, and they have tried to blame poor seamanship, and they have tried to blame all sorts of nonsense instead of telling us the truth. And now, finally, and now I think we know why. We absolutely know why. all of the crew had to sign these non-disclosure agreements, and that 1 year later, we don't have one single report, not one single reporter, news camera, nobody has talked to anybody who was aboard the Fitzgerald. All we have are Article 32 testimonies, which is not the case in the case of the Porter or in the case of the Cole. And the Cole was actually an attack. We got a problem, folks. The Navy's lying, and they are trying to discharge people and get rid of people and push them out of the Navy so that nobody finds out what it is. We'll keep on this. Like, share, subscribe.